On leadership, basically I'm here today to share my observations about this burning topic. Hopefully some of what I share today may help unlock a world of opportunities for you. You know, talking heads of all stripes have seemed to come to consensus on one thing. The world today, given its sheer complexity, needs more leadership. But before I share my thoughts with you, I'm curious whether you all have the same views of leadership. I'm pretty sure we all have different interpretations, different views about leadership. The ironic thing is that everybody argues about leadership. Everybody argues that it is in high demand, but few can agree on what it actually looks like. For some, the confusion is welcome. It is great for business. The once cottage industry of leadership theory has developed into a multi-million-dollar, or if not a multi-billion-dollar business, by competing schools of thought on leadership. Some claiming it is an inherent trait, others proposing it is spawned from engaged group activity, while some link it inextricably to authority and others see it arising naturally out of crises. Some are probably making quite a bit of money from these prevailing differences of opinion right here at Stanford. Invariably, we're better able to point out bad leaders and the lack of leadership. I don't think anyone here would disagree that somebody like Kim Jong-il, the self-anointed great leader of North Korea, has been somewhat of a bad example of leadership. Nor say Jim Jones, who founded and led the People's Temple, is someone you would want to follow to Jonestown. We also can agree on the atrocious things that can occur when people don't lead. Though he stretches his argument to an indictment, Daniel Goldhagen, in his book Hitler's Willing Executioners, makes the case of what happens when leadership is desperately needed, but no one dares to step up and speak out. Genocide right before our own eyes. History, even when an entire generation vows never again, tends to repeat itself. Lack of leadership has allowed a terrific loss of life in Indonesia in the 60s, in Rwanda in the 90s, and in Darfur up to today. I often return to Boston and spend time exploring sites in and around the historic city. One of my favorites is actually a memorial to the victims and survivors of the Holocaust along the Freedom Trail. There, the unforgettable words of Pastor Martin Niemöller always remind me how leading is a responsibility far greater than oneself. About the Nazis, he said, and I quote, "They came first for the communist, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a communist. They came for the Jews, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a Jew. And they came for the trade unionist, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't the trade unionist. And they came for the Catholics, and I didn't speak up because I was a Protestant. Then they came for me, and by that time, no one was left to speak up." These haunting words capture my view on leadership. Genuine leadership, in my view, is a selfless service. It is a service because you aim to leave the people you lead better off. It is selfless because leading, make no mistake about it, could be dangerous. As a leader, you will inevitably encounter resistance, and those against the change you're seeking will go to all ends to undermine you. I have been and continue to be a target of the status quo. As you continue to rise and exercise even greater leadership, you too will uncover powerfully entrenched interest plotting against you, including by underhanded means. Thus, beware. With all that drama, why bother? If the risks are real, why become a leader? Or why even attempt to become a leader? It is common that people associate leadership with the dirty 5-letter word, power, plus what are often seen as accoutrements, status, respect, and recognition. Of course, attaining power and wielding it wisely does aid one's cause. There's a course here, I hear, at Stanford's Graduate School of Business on that subject. Professor Jeffrey Fiver's The Path to Power, course number OB377. Power, however, is neither a prerequisite nor consequence of leadership. There are many cases where the powerless have answered the call to leadership and brought about systemic change. Pro-democracy activists, you might have seen those in recent days, community volunteers, corporate whistleblowers, just to name a few offhand, have done just that in many parts of the world without ever being heard of it. From the taste we have so far been given of what is in store in the 21st century, it's indeed clear that more of that fundamental leadership is needed. Established Wall Street firms have gone under because they believed they could outsmart the next guy on the street or even the market. Now they're cooperating with governments to fashion a more sustainable financial system. Many industry stalwarts have consulted nonprofit organizations to develop business models that produce material benefit to society and not just shareholders. Even governments are discovering that the world, as they have known it, is changing. Thinking they could forever borrow money, found themselves on the edge of an economic meltdown, while others are creating contingencies in case they get wiped off the map because of climatic changes. They're dropping the pretense of a parental state and are listening to recommendations from other governments, the private sector, and non-governmental organizations. What's taking place, and this is the overarching trend in the 21st century, is the gradual collapse of artificial walls we have erected separating public, private, and social sectors, functional divisions within organizations, and the notional boundaries of the nation-state. The realization is dawning upon us that these divisions are by no means conducive to solving interwoven issues emerging on the horizon, particularly given greater economic integration, increasing movement of people, the rapid rise of technology, the evolution of diseases, and disruptive pandemics, the warming of our planet, to highlight just a few. There's neither precedent nor script to help resolve these multifaceted issues in such a fluid and shifting landscape, and yet leaders will be sought to address them. I can tell you from meeting many brilliant and compassionate individuals throughout the course of my career that only few will step up to the challenge of operating in a fog of uncertainty. They fear the unknown and are unsure whether they have the technical skills to accomplish their goals. No doubt, technical skills are critical to the success of human endeavor, but what I believe is more important, as you may expect, is an inclination towards leadership. And I also believe that leadership can be exercised at every level of any organization. Fortunately, I've had valuable experiences across sectors and in various capacities. This exposure has given me insight into what I now believe make leaders successful. I've come to the belief that successful leaders act similarly across sectors, functions, backgrounds, so on and so forth.